Isn't that fun? Just a place of magic.
So is that a living tree underneath? It doesn't look alive.
Yes. There's a tree down here known as bois d'arc. Down here they say boat arc. It's an unusual tree because the wood doesn't rot and termites don't eat it. And so if you build your house on a boat arc tree, even if the tree dies, the house is going to be there for another 75 years. That wood outperforms any wood in the country. The problem is that the tree grows like this, the most undisciplined tree you've ever seen. And so you can't mill straight lumber out of it. So you have to use it in an organic fashion. All the railing here, those are boat arc branches. These railings have to withstand 200 pounds pressure. So the inspector got over here with his special instrument and he checked it.
What are the codes for tree houses?
There are none. Building is building is building. Whether you're building on a tree or if you're building Home Depot, same principles. However, when I was trying to get a permit, we were up on step ladders in the tree, taking measurements, trying to figure out what the dimensions would be. So I finally talked to the inspector and I said, look, this is what I think it's going to look like, but really the tree is dictating the design. And what I want to do is achieve a platform and then redraw the plans to accommodate the tree. And he said, yeah, that's fine. So that's what we did. This is the living area right here, and the tree comes up through the floor. And how often do you get to have a window in the floor? So we have a window so we can look down. Then this is kitchen area. Full-size kitchen here. These are slices of boat arc that have been set in charcoal grout. And then a stove and a fridge. And we have a small bathroom here. And
is it plumbed and wired?
oh, yeah.
How does that work in a tree house?
Well, you just run it up here. Of course, sewage must run downhill. And I've got enough fall from the tree house to the street to put in a conventional sewer line. Here's the water heater, size of a cereal box. This is crepe myrtle. Then upstairs we have a bedroom. Upstairs we have a wine cork floor.
Oh, wow.
And there's a little bit of damage there. And that's more from wear over 10 years' time. We'll regrout and it'll be fine. That's fun. It's kind of like a Dr. Scholl's floor, isn't it? I have a small closet here. Closet door there.
You just used pieces of wood.
Yeah, isn't that fun? Yeah. Those are crepe myrtle branches. Why not have a whimsical closet door?
Did this pass inspection as far as a barricade? Because it's, it looks pretty wide.
We're missing a few here. There's been some damage.
Okay.
And the rule is a 4-inch sphere can't go in between them. Babies get in there and then they can't get out. But we missed one there. We've got to repair that. This is Model T windshield hardware. You get a feeling for how high up we are. A treehouse without a balcony would be a non-treehouse. And you're in the overstory, there's a creek there, it's private. This is such a magical place. We're 35 feet above Town Creek here. And this is the tree. It's just as healthy as it was when we first built the house. And it's growing on this side of the tree. And you can see the leaves up there. A lot of the members are dead, but this is still alive. The neat thing about vernacular architecture over the millennia is they all have this sense of purpose and whimsy to them. The stilt houses in India, a Pakistani cave, the Siberian yurts, they all have this wonderful sense of people sheltering themselves. And how noble is that?
Like that.
It just sends you headlong in who you really are.
But why with the windows?
So you can see the tree. Because you're in a tree, you can see the ground. Isn't that crazy?
That's scary.
Why would you just settle for drywall and vinyl and carpet?
They're gonna fall down.
Huh?
I said, wow.
Oh, yeah.
And not everybody has that choice. I understand that. And it has given us a quality of life that is magnificent. But we've given something up.
Oh, wow. Oh,
We've given up just a little bit of the human spirit. It's a multi-purpose studio for artists. So if you're a dancer, there's a place to check their port-a-bras. If you're a painter, lots of light. If you're a sculptor, lots of power. The ceiling, those are frame samples from frame shops. When they rotate their inventory, they just throw those things away. It's kind of a new age Rococo. Then a crepe myrtle balustrade.
Floor?
It's a 15-ply plywood structural plank. That's what this is, same thing on the floor. It was being superseded and some of the ends were damaged, and I got 3 18-wheeler loads of that. I build out of free salvage and recycled materials, and most of these buildings are 75 to 85% salvage material. These floors are teak.
Oh, wow.
Got those right out of a dumpster. Who would throw that away? Small. Not much room for 2 people in here. Little sleeping loft up there.
How big is the space?
320 square feet. I rent the whole property to one artist. You have a multi-purpose studio. You live in the treehouse. This cottage you can choose to sublet or not. Use it for a guest house, whatever. And this is a house that was designed based on a Budweiser can. It doesn't look like a can of beer, but the design takeoffs are absolutely unmistakable.
And you rent it out now?
It was sold.
So sometimes they're sold.
I normally try to sell.
You do?
The only ones that I keep as rental properties are the artist compound. I sell them below market rates.
Do you really?
Because I can. Materials were free, labor was low. The lots typically are very cheap because I build in deteriorated neighborhoods. I think we're still stuck in conventional building modes, and it factors in 10% waste. There doesn't seem to be any inclination to use salvage material. In the world of Dan, the design grows out of the materials I have. Well, I call this the bone house because I've used a lot of bone. Here we are.
Come on in.
This is a bone countertop. Those are rib bones.
So bone.
Cow bone. You take the rib bone and slice it sideways and then glue them down and then grout. Bone is such a marvelous material. The only difference between bone and ivory is that ivory is illegal and bone is free. Every rancher in Texas has a boneyard. When a cow dies, they drag it to the back 40. 5 years later, there's a pile of bones. Can I raid your boneyard? And they'll say, help yourself. It's beautiful. These are champagne corks, and these are regular wine corks.
Is it practical, or is the labor make it become very expensive?
Boy, if you price cork floors in Architectural Digest, get your checkbook ready. It's expensive. These are free and vastly more interesting than any cork flooring can be. We have a skylight up here. It's not really a skylight, it's known as a solar tube. It's just mirror, you know, light comes in there and bounces around the mirrors, and then the sunlight hits that and it models down here. See the sunlight hitting on the floor? We have a bathroom here out of mirror shards, and you feel like you're standing 8 feet above the floor because you have that magnifying thing going from ceiling to floor to ceiling to floor to ceiling to floor, and it just keeps on going. This is a bottle cap floor, and this is a paper mache floor with beer bottle labels. There's a southern yellow pine wooden shard floor. All this is walnut, So that's walnut and bone. With our logo in the floor. See, I think this is bone. Yeah, that's bone.
What's your logo?
Phoenix.
Why?
It's a metaphor of new life from old. I normally build in marginal neighborhoods because that's where the housing is needed, first of all, and also there are no deed restrictions. If I try to build in a subdivision that has deed restrictions, build a house out of trash, people get a little bit annoyed at that, and so I don't get to do that. Always wanted to build a house that looked like a shoe. Well, a friend of mine said, would you consider building a house that looked like a cowboy boot? After all, this is Texas, and so we're building a house that looks like a boot. It wasn't in the deed restrictions, so we can build a boot. This is the boot part. Got kitchen here. There's a little bedroom in here, and the crew decided that this would be for the kids. So you say, you kids go to your toe right now. And this will all be granite here. An outfit in Dallas gave me as much granite as I want until I die. I just have to take it by the 18-wheeler load and pay the shipping. Then the neat thing about this granite is you get to participate in all the permutations of granite without having to live with any one of them. If you had a whole house full of this, that would be a little bit gaudy.
So you were given as much granite as you want?
Yeah.
Why?
There are sink drops, there are cut-offs, there are coals, broken pieces. They pile up in these stone distributors' warehouses. It just has to be given away.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, that's a sink drop right there.
Where they cut out for the sink. They don't use that, obviously. It just gets tossed inside.
Trevor made these two doors here. These were old deck boards, which obviously they're too degraded for a deck. So we made a door out of them. It still has some moss on it. Yeah, you can't go buy a door with moss on it.
Yeah. It's like you get the beautiful texture in the front, and then we cleaned it up a little bit for the inside. Yeah.
Those handles come off of a sliding glass patio door. We had to turn the other one upside down so the handle went into the, and not this way. I'm in the marketplace. I'm not a nonprofit. I'm about as nonprofit as you can get and still be in the for-profit sector. I'm trying to prove that you can make a reasonable living building for underserved populations with salvage material, which is 85% free, and then unskilled labor, and they only get minimum wage.
Yeah, you notice that there's a little bit out of level?
We'll make some texture around there so we won't see it.
We're kind of a collective, so we all weigh in on the project. Whereas in a typical, you have plans, you have to build it this way, and if it's not built this way, then it's wrong. Well, in this one, it's like, well, this window is a little bit out of level, but we're going to leave it.
That's the eyeball.
Yeah. You get experience like typical builders will do certain things themselves and subcontract out. We do everything in-house most of the time, so you get like a whole plethora of experience. Everything takes a little bit more time than you would expect, but you can take it slow and do it right and use material that you wouldn't otherwise be able to use. And you get atypical buildings that are way different than cookie cutter houses.
Up on the roof, we'll have a little deck up here. It's been a lot of fun. We're using stucco to simulate leather and kind of splotching it. Often enough, we make job site doors, job site windows. That's a job site door there.
What does that mean?
Just made on the job site. Got some junky wood and made a door. These are 2x10s, and they were on a deck. Well, you can imagine, you can see, this was the deck. So, you know, they don't function as deck boards anymore, but they can certainly function as a door. Then, just to keep the rain out, I got some leather belts and put there. I'll have weather stripping on the inside. The more you want to play with a door, the more complicated it is. But if you just need a door, that's simple. It took 3 hours to build.
How flexible are codes here?
Every building code has a provision that alternative materials and strategies are allowable provided you fulfill the intent of the code. The only thing codes do is protect the public health and safety. So if there's nothing dangerous about it, I can do whatever I want.
There's a lot of codes that we go over. Like in here, we have studs that are 12 inches on center, which is way more than you need, but the weight of the structure might need a little bit extra, so we beefed it up a little bit here and there.
We exceed the code a lot.
Just because we have material that we can put towards it.
And I get to use materials that most builders can't afford to use because they were free to me. I've got to have plans in order to get a building permit, but I don't have to stick to them. I have to stick to the footprint. The deed restrictions here specify for a single-story house it has to be at least 900 square feet. And if you build a 900 square foot boot, then it's about 3 miles tall. So you reduce the size of the boot and add this building to be compliant with the 900 square feet, because that was put in place back in the 1950s and 60s. They were put in place back when space was free, energy was free, materials they thought were free. Well, as it turned out, none of that was free, ever.
Deed restrictions around here, it is everywhere. It's prolific, and it creates, these cookie cutter neighborhoods.
So you just feel like you can have fun.
Oh, I'm having more fun than I've ever had in my life. This is lots of fun. I get to play, and I've got to be code compliant. And if I were a nonprofit, people would go, oh, he can do that because he gets boatloads of free grant money. We can't do that. Well, I'm subject to the same market pressures as any other builder. It's just that my materials are free, got a low-cost labor force. It's possible to make a living doing that. You don't hit a home run, but I don't care about that. My great advantage is I don't care about money.